And I'm going to start off by asking some questions. So raise your hand if you listen to music. Okay. Now raise your hand if you have listened to classical music within the past week. Okay. So we all know that music is a big part of our lives. And to me, I've been a classical guitarist for the past 10 years. I started when I was 11 at middle school, and I continued all the way into high school. And I performed in concerts as well as regional and state competitions. And so today, I want to expose the reasons why you should listen to classical music, as it can bring some health benefits, as well as provide a wide range of genres, and probably make you appreciate the development of music. So to start off, many of us might be aware of the impact music has on us. And so there was a study conducted by Dr. Jonathan Smith from Roosevelt University, in which he tried to understand what are the effects in which listening to Mozart compared to listening to New Age music. So New Age music refers to that type of music in which you find those nature sounds and ambient sounds, and you will most likely find these tracks on YouTube with the titles such as 24 Hours of Relaxing Sounds. And so what this study found was that when students listened to Mozart, they had lower stress levels and a higher relaxation state as compared to listening to New Age music. And so this is interesting because listening to Mozart might make you less stressed than listening to a track that was created with the purpose of creating relaxation. And so you might be thinking, well, I don't like Mozart, or to me, classical music just sounds boring. And the truth is that through the media, classical music has been put down. And according to the end of year report by Nielsen Music in 2019, it was found that classical music only had a 1% market share and was ranked 12 out of 12 compared to other genres. And so what many people do not know is that classical music in itself is an entire diverse world of music. And so classical music can actually be subdivided into 5 main genres. The 5 main genres are early music, Baroque, classical, romantic, and modern. It can be subdivided into other eras, but these are the 5 main ones. And in each of these eras, there was many different composers, as well as instruments and different techniques that developed over time. And so you might know some composers that are really popular, such as Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, or even Bach. And there were many composers. In fact, if you take a look at this list, even if you squint, you might not even be able to see it. But on this list are of composers just from the Romantic era, not including all the other eras. And so there is a vast amount of music that was created by different composers. And you can see this list just to demonstrate just the vast amount of composers that there was in history. And so you can even subdivide classical music even more by instrument. And so classical music does not have to be just this big orchestra or symphony. There is also classical music written for solo instruments. For example, the piano, the violin, the harp, or the guitar. Now, some of you might already heard some of these pieces, such as the Moonlight Sonata or Fur-Elise, which are very popular. And so these pieces were made just for a specific solo instrument. And so classical music does not have to be in the concert hall with this big orchestra. It can also be just with one instrument. And so, knowing all of this, listening to classical music might help you develop an appreciation for the history of music. As if you start listening, you might be curious and search up the composer or the time period from which this music came. And so in my experience, when I was 11, I started playing, and as the years progressed, I started listening to more composers, more pieces. And one of my favorite composers is Beethoven. And the reasons why I really like his compositions are because I am able to connect and feel the emotions that he was trying to portray. And actually, this effect was studied at King's London College in the Center of Neuroimaging Sciences, where they tried to understand what the brain or the brain patterns that happen when listening to classical music. And so what they found was that when you listen to classical music, it activates different parts of our brain that triggers different emotions. And so maybe you might have already felt this type of emotions when listening to other types of genres. And maybe you might have certain feelings when listening to your favorite song. And so what this means is that classical music can also bring this. And so overall, when you're picking your next song to add to your playlist, consider adding a classical piece. Now, if you want to be more involved, you can actually visit the UTRGV Performing Arts Center, where you might be able to listen to the UTRGV Symphony Orchestra. You can find more information at utrgv.edu/patron, where they have a calendar of different events throughout the month. And so I'll leave you with this quote stated by Leonard Bernstein, where he said, "Music tiene, tiene and communicate, Thank you.